Wow. Okay, so we're diving into some seriously fascinating stuff today. You sent us material about Isaac's son Jacob, and right off the bat,
Yeah.
it's a story just packed with ambition and trickery and this really interesting personal evolution or transformation.
That's it. Yeah. This deep dive is going to be all about understanding Jacob.
Okay.
You know, this figure who starts off known for his cleverness, maybe even his cunning. Getting ahead through maybe not the most honest ways.
Right.
But he really goes through some huge changes.
Yeah.
So we're going to look closely at his character,
Okay.
the blessings he receives, and what his whole life story can tell us.
And, I have to say, one of the questions that just jumped out from the material, this question about, have you ever been seriously deceived by someone, and how did that experience impact you?
Yeah.
It's like it just frames everything about Jacob's early actions.
Right.
In a way that makes you think about the ripple effects of deception.
Totally. Because Jacob's story, it really starts with this theme of deception. And he's not just the one being tricked.
Right.
He's often the one actually orchestrating it.
Yeah.
So to understand him, we need to go back to the very beginning.
Okay, so let's do that. The material you shared about Rebecca's pregnancy with the twins.
Yes.
Even before they were born. This powerful prophecy. The younger will be stronger. And the elder will serve him.
Right.
Then you have this birth scene where Jacob is clutching Esau's heel.
Right.
It's so vivid.
It is.
It's more than just an image, though, right?
Right.
His name, Jacob, means heel grabber.
Yeah.
Which had this cultural implication of being a trickster.
Yeah, a deceiver.
Someone who might undermine.
Right.
It's almost like his identity was tied to this from the start.
It really sets the stage for their whole relationship.
Right, because the birthright was so important.
Right, it was huge.
In their culture, the firstborn son was the father's successor. It wasn't just inheritance.
No.
A double portion, a leadership role.
Absolutely.
And here's Jacob seeing an opportunity when Esau, exhausted and probably not thinking long term, trades this birthright for a bowl of stew.
For some food.
I mean, the sources really emphasize how Esau swore an oath.
Yeah, he made it official.
Making it legally binding.
Legally binding.
But talk about a bad decision in the heat of the moment.
Yeah, it really shows Esau's short-sightedness.
Impulsiveness, right.
Yeah, totally.
But then we come to what is probably the biggest act of deception.
Yeah.
The way Jacob gets Isaac's blessing.
Right.
This is just so pivotal.
It's a huge turning point.
So much weight behind it.
Totally.
So Isaac is old.
Yeah.
He thinks he's about to die.
Right.
He wants to give the family blessing to Esau. But he seems to be overlooking what God told Rebecca.
Yeah, God's earlier.
About the younger son's future.
That's right.
And Rebecca and Jacob come up with this plan, taking advantage of Isaac's bad eyesight.
His blindness,
And we have to remember, these blessings weren't just nice words.
I know.
They were incredibly powerful.
Totally.
Almost prophetic.
Yes.
Believed to influence the person's destiny.
It was believed.
And legacy. And the words themselves are so powerful.
Yeah.
When Isaac says, "Cursed be everyone who curses you, and blessed be everyone who blesses you. Be Lord over your brothers, and may your mother's sons bow down to you."
It's powerful language.
This wasn't just a dad talking.
No.
This was directly tied to the Abrahamic covenant. God's promises to Abraham about land descendants, blessing to all nations.
That's huge.
So Jacob, through this deception, steps into this line of promise.
Right.
It makes you wonder about the relationship between human action and God's will.
It's a question that runs through the whole story.
Doesn't it?
It really does.
And of course, this deception has huge consequences.
Yeah, immediate consequences.
Esau's furious.
Understandably so.
He vows to kill Jacob.
Yeah, as soon as Isaac dies.
So Jacob gets the blessing.
Yeah.
But he's in serious danger.
He's in mortal danger.
So he has to leave.
He has to flee.
And the way Rebecca handles this is so interesting.
How so?
She doesn't tell Isaac about Esau's plan.
Right.
To kill Jacob.
She doesn't mention the murder plot.
Instead, she says Jacob should marry within the family.
Back in Padan Aram.
It's pretty clever.
Very strategic.
It keeps Jacob safe.
Yeah.
And it also aligns with the cultural importance of marrying within their people.
That's right.
So Isaac tells Jacob not to marry a Canaanite woman. He sends him to his mother's brother Laban in Padan Aram.
Right.
And the sources mention a few reasons for this.
Yeah. What do they say?
Maybe a concern about the Canaanites' idolatry?
Right.
Compared to Rebekah's family, who still worship the God of their ancestors.
Yeah, so Jacob's flight is more than just an escape.
Yeah.
He's also on a mission to find a wife.
Within a specific lineage.
Exactly.
And on this journey, as Jacob is leaving,
yeah,
he has this incredible dream at Luz.
Right, the place he later calls Bethel.
What stands out to you about this?
The imagery is so powerful. This ladder from earth to heaven, angels going up and down, and God himself appears to Jacob.
This isn't just any dream.
No, it's a divine encounter.
God is reaffirming his promises to Jacob.
Absolutely.
God reiterates the core promises of the land for Jacob and his descendants, a multitude of offspring in this huge promise that through him and his offspring, all the families of the earth would be blessed.
This is a turning point.
It really is.
Like God is giving his stamp of approval.
Even though Jacob got the blessing.
In a questionable way.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like God is confirming that the Abrahamic blessing is passing to Jacob.
So it makes you think, was Jacob's deception even necessary?
Right. Was it part of God's plan all along?
Yeah.
It seems like even though Jacob was acting selfishly, God's larger purposes were at work.
This encounter really impacts Jacob.
Yeah.
He names the place Bethel, house of God, recognizing how sacred that moment was.
That's right.
So he travels on to Haran.
Yeah.
And his life there.
Abrahamic is complicated.
It does.
Especially with Laban.
He marries Laban's daughters. We learn about the birth of 11 sons and a daughter.
Right. A big family.
It seems like Jacob faces new challenges.
Yeah.
With a father-in-law who's also pretty good at deception.
Yeah. Laban is just as cunning as Jacob.
Maybe even more so.
Right.
And it creates this back and forth of constant negotiation and sometimes
great trickery.
Even though there are all these difficulties, Jacob still prospers.
Yeah, he does well for himself.
He works hard.
He's not afraid of hard work.
And some might say he uses his own cleverness to his advantage.
He's definitely resourceful.
He builds wealth and a large family. But eventually, the tension with Laban and the jealousy from Laban's sons forces Jacob to escape again.
And he heads back towards Canaan.
And that means he's going to have to face Esau again.
Oh, yeah.
This is a huge moment.
It's the climax of their story.
It is. Imagine the anxiety Jacob must have felt.
Oh, I'm sure it was intense.
Knowing how angry Esau was.
After all those years.
And he really tries to make things right with Esau.
Yeah, what does he do?
He sends gifts ahead. He's trying to protect his family.
From Esau's potential violence.
Exactly.
You can just feel the fear.
Yes. In the narrative.
Yeah.
And in this moment of intense anxiety, he's alone.
Right.
Wrestling with his past and the uncertainty of the future.
Yeah.
This is when the wrestling match happens.
This incredible wrestling match.
It's described as him being attacked by a man.
Yeah.
And they wrestle until daybreak.
All night long.
Think about this.
Okay.
Jacob is older now.
Right. He's not a young man anymore.
And he's in this grueling fight for hours. He even injures his hip.
It's a serious struggle.
And this is where the story gets really mystical.
Yeah.
Jacob realizes this isn't a normal fight.
Right.
The sources suggest he understands.
Yeah.
He's wrestling with something supernatural.
An angel or
maybe even God himself.
It's a powerful idea.
And even though he's hurt, he won't let go until he gets a blessing.
It shows his incredible tenacity.
But also, maybe he's starting to understand where true power and blessing come from.
It's a shift in his understanding.
And the exchange about their names.
Yes.
That's so important.
Tell me about it.
The attacker asks Jacob his name.
Yeah.
And Jacob answers honestly.
With Jacob.
The deceiver.
Right. Acknowledging his true identity.
And then he gets a new name.
Israel.
Which means
wrestles with God.
Or God wrestles.
It's a profound name change.
It's not just a new name.
No.
It symbolizes a change in who he is.
Yeah.
In his relationship with God.
Absolutely.
Before this, he strived with men. He used manipulation.
He's on cleverness.
But now he's wrestled with the divine.
He's encountered God directly.
And the sources highlight he didn't win through physical strength.
Right.
He won through persistence.
And his refusal to give up.
Until he got a blessing.
That's right.
The lesson for Jacob seems to be that he can't manipulate God.
No.
He has to confront him directly.
Yeah.
Acknowledge who he really is. And rely on faith and trust.
It's a powerful transformation.
And in Hosea 12,
Yeah.
it talks about Jacob wrestling with the angel.
Right.
Seeking his favor.
So this encounter really stays with him.
It really does.
It shapes his future.
And it's after this that we learn the names of all 12 Jacob's sons.
Okay, let's hear them.
Reuben, Simeon, Levi, Judah, Dan, Naphtali, Gad, Asher, Issachar, Zebulun, Joseph, and Benjamin.
Wow.
And the source even hints that a powerful leader will come from one of these sons.
Right, a future ruler.
So we started with Jacob, this deceitful man.
Right.
And we've seen this incredible journey of change.
Uh-huh.
He does get the blessings.
He does.
Partly through his own schemes.
Yeah, he tries to make things happen his way.
But ultimately, through God's plan.
That's right.
And this direct personal encounter with God.
It's like God is saying, I can work with your imperfections.
Even with our flaws, our past mistakes, God's purposes can still unfold.
It's a hopeful message.
It really is, and it connects back to that question about deception.
Yeah.
What do you think Jacob's journey tells us about the potential for change and growth?
Yeah.
Even after making big mistakes.
Or acting deceptively.
It's a powerful message.
It is. It really speaks to the possibility of transformation.
And then there's that promise.
Yeah.
That all the families of the earth will be blessed.
Through Jacob's offspring.
The sources talk about different ways to understand that promise.
What are some of those interpretations?
Some suggest that we'll be blessed could be reflexive.
Okay.
Meaning other families or nations would see how prosperous Abraham's descendants were, and they'd consider themselves blessed in comparison.
Right. Or aspire to similar blessings.
Exactly.
So that reflexive interpretation is about recognition. Yeah. And maybe even emulation.
Right.
People seeing Abraham's lineage flourishing and acknowledging their own blessings.
In that context.
Yeah.
But the earliest translations often lean towards a more passive understanding where the blessing flows directly to all families.
Through Abraham's descendants.
And the term families seems so broad.
Right.
It could include nations, but also smaller groups like clans.
Yeah, it's expansive.
It makes you think about the impact one person's life can have.
Yeah, it's a ripple effect.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we've gone on this journey with Jacob.
From heel grabber to Israel.
The one who wrestles with God.
That's right.
We've looked at his deception. The blessings he received. His incredible encounter with God.
That transformation.
And the change in who he was.
Yeah.
It leaves you thinking.
Yeah.
How do we understand human fallibility? Alongside these larger purposes and promises.
Right. How do those two things coexist?
Exactly. Is there an area in your own life where you might be wrestling?
Maybe needing a new perspective?
Or even a new understanding of yourself?
Those are big questions.
They are.
Thanks for bringing this amazing story to our attention.
Oh, of course.
It was fascinating to explore Jacob's life in such depth.
It really was. And thank you for sharing your insights.
My pleasure.
We encourage everyone listening to keep thinking about these themes
of deception, blessing, and transformation.
until our next deep dive together.